In a striking escalation of hostilities within the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict, Russian troops have reportedly utilized a major gas pipeline to launch a surprise attack on Ukrainian forces stationed in the Kursk region. This surprising development highlights the evolving tactics of both sides as the war enters its fourth year. Pro-Russian military bloggers have indicated that special forces units crept through approximately 15 kilometers of the pipeline which had previously been used for gas transport to Europe before striking Ukrainian positions near the town of Sudza. Yuri Podolyaka, a military blogger with pro-Kremlin leanings, detailed how Russian operatives spent days within the pipeline before executing the ambush. This tactic was likely part of a broader offensive aimed at dislodging Ukrainian forces from the Kursk region, territory that Ukraine had seized in August of the previous year, as a strategic maneuver to gain leverage in negotiations and to divert Russian resources from the Eastern Front. In response to the evolving battlefield dynamics, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has expressed a firm commitment to peace talks, stating Ukraine has been seeking peace from the very first second of this war. Realistic proposals are on the table. The key is to move quickly and effectively. Zelensky is expected to meet with U.S. representatives in Saudi Arabia next week to discuss the next steps in diplomatic efforts. This meeting comes amid ongoing discussions between U.S. and Russian officials, with the Kremlin's narrative framing the West as the aggressor seeking to prolong the conflict. As the situation in Kursk intensifies, the implications of the recent U.S. suspension of intelligence sharing with Ukraine are becoming clearer. Reports indicate that this decision has had significant effects on the battlefield, hindering Ukrainian forces' ability to target Russian units effectively. A Ukrainian service member noted that the suspension has compromised their capacity to detect incoming Russian aircraft, further jeopardizing both military and civilian safety. This tactical disadvantage may have facilitated the recent Russian advances in the area. Compounding these challenges, Ukrainian forces are reportedly facing the possibility of running out of critical artillery supplies and air defense missiles in the coming months. This dire situation is exacerbated by the ongoing missile and drone strikes from Russian forces, which have intensified in recent days. In a particularly devastating attack in the Donetsk region, Russian missiles killed at least 11 people and injured over 30, showcasing the continued peril faced by civilians amid the conflict. While the Ukrainian military grapples with these setbacks, European states are attempting to fill the intelligence void left by the U.S. suspension. France, for instance, has reiterated its commitment to providing military intelligence to Ukraine, reflecting a broader effort among European nations to bolster Ukraine's defense capabilities. As both sides prepare for the next stages of this drawn-out conflict, the potential for escalation remains high. The Kremlin's ongoing efforts to strengthen its military presence in Belarus and the continued development of its military capabilities indicate that Russia is preparing for a protracted confrontation. Meanwhile, the pressure on Ukraine to secure additional support and adapt to the changing landscape is palpable. In conclusion, as the war continues to unfold with unexpected tactics and shifting alliances, the upcoming talks in Saudi Arabia may provide a crucial opportunity for both sides to reassess their strategies. The international community will be watching closely, as the potential for renewed negotiations could reshape the trajectory of this conflict, which has already claimed countless lives and reshaped geopolitical alliances. In the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, recent developments have underscored the complexities and challenges faced by both sides as they navigate an increasingly volatile battlefield. Reports from March 8, 2025 indicate a significant escalation in Russian military operations, particularly in the Kursk Oblast, as they attempt to reclaim territory and exert pressure on Ukrainian forces. The situation has been further complicated by the recent suspension of U.S. intelligence sharing with Ukraine, which has created a vacuum that Russian forces are reportedly exploiting. According to the Institute for the Study of War (ISW), Western and Ukrainian officials have expressed concerns that this suspension is adversely affecting Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russian advances. A Ukrainian service member noted that a critical satellite service simply disappeared, which has hindered their operational capabilities, particularly in detecting Russian aircraft. This development has left Ukrainian forces vulnerable, with reports suggesting they may deplete their artillery shell stockpiles by mid-2025. In the context of these challenges, Russian forces have intensified their campaign in the Kursk region, employing tactics that include using a gas pipeline to execute surprise attacks. Pro-Russian military bloggers have claimed that special forces managed to infiltrate a gas pipeline and launch an offensive on Ukrainian troops located near the town of Sudza. This innovative approach reflects a strategic shift aimed at encircling Ukrainian positions and could potentially alter the dynamics of the conflict in this region. The Russian Ministry of Defense has announced the mobilization of various military units, including the Chechen Akhmat Spetsnaz and elements from the 30th Motorized Rifle Regiment, to bolster their efforts in Kursk. As they seek to dismantle the remaining Ukrainian salient, Russian forces have reportedly destroyed bridges to impede Ukrainian logistical movements, further complicating their operational capabilities. Simultaneously, the Ukrainian government is making diplomatic efforts to address these challenges. President Volodymyr Zelensky has emphasized Ukraine's commitment to peace negotiations and is set to meet with U.S. representatives in Saudi Arabia to discuss the next steps in their partnership. Realistic proposals are on the table, Zelensky stated, underscoring Ukraine's desire for constructive dialogue amid the ongoing hostilities. The suspension of U.S. intelligence sharing also poses a significant risk to Ukraine's defense industrial base, which is crucial for sustaining military operations. CNN has reported that Ukrainian officials are concerned about running out of critical munitions, including Patriot air defense missiles, which are essential for countering Russian missile strikes. As Russian forces continue their aerial assaults, launching missile and drone strikes across various Ukrainian regions, the consequences of these developments are increasingly dire. Reports indicate that recent strikes have resulted in civilian casualties and damage to infrastructure, further straining Ukraine's already challenged defense capabilities. With the Kremlin propagating narratives aimed at justifying its military actions and rallying domestic support, the situation remains precarious. Russian officials are framing the conflict as a necessary defense against perceived Western aggression, which complicates the prospect of diplomatic resolution. Looking forward, the coming weeks will be critical as Ukraine seeks to navigate these challenges on multiple fronts. The outcomes of upcoming discussions with U.S. representatives and the ongoing military engagements will likely shape the trajectory of the conflict. As both sides prepare for potential escalations, the international community watches closely, aware that the stakes in this conflict extend far beyond the borders of Ukraine. In a dramatic escalation of hostilities amid the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Recent reports reveal that Russian troops have executed a surprise attack on Ukrainian forces utilizing a major gas pipeline as their cover. This unconventional tactic, highlighted by pro-Russian military bloggers, indicates a significant shift in operational strategies as Moscow intensifies its military campaigns. As per the accounts from bloggers such as Yuri Podolyaka, Russian special forces reportedly traversed approximately 15 kilometers 9 miles inside the gas pipeline before launching their offensive near the town of Sudza within the Kursk region. This attack is part of a broader Russian offensive aimed at reclaiming territories lost to Ukrainian forces, who since August of the previous year had managed to capture around 1,300 square kilometers of the Kursk region. The Ukrainian strategy behind this territorial gain was to strengthen their negotiating position in future discussions with Russia. In the backdrop of this military maneuver, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky remains steadfast in his commitment to peace talks. Ahead of a crucial meeting with U.S. representatives in Saudi Arabia, Zelensky underscored Ukraine's desire for constructive dialogue, stating realistic proposals are on the table. The key is to move quickly and effectively. His upcoming discussions with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and the U.S. delegation are expected to focus on crucial next steps in the ongoing conflict. As the conflict rages on, the humanitarian impact continues to be felt deeply. Just days prior, Zelensky expressed condolences for a tragic missile strike in the Donetsk region which resulted in multiple casualties, illustrating the ongoing toll of the war on civilian lives. The Ukrainian military has reported that Russian missiles targeted residential areas, further heightening the urgency for diplomatic resolutions. While military actions dominate the headlines, the conflict's ramifications extend to the technological sphere as well. Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, commented on the critical role of the Starlink internet system in Ukraine, asserting that the entire front line would collapse without it. As of last year, approximately 42,000 Starlink terminals were operational across various sectors in Ukraine, including military and humanitarian efforts. However, concerns have been raised regarding the reliability of this service, especially after Musk hinted at the possibility of discontinuing support, which has prompted Polish officials to consider alternative providers for the critical service. In a broader context, the geopolitical landscape continues to shift with the return of Donald Trump to the White House, where his administration has begun to redefine U.S. relations with Russia and Ukraine. Recent actions have seen the U.S. suspending military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine, marking a dramatic departure from previous policies aimed at supporting Kyiv against Russian aggression. Trump's administration has also initiated talks with Russia aimed at ending the war, further complicating the situation as it undermines NATO's traditional stance against Russian expansionism. As the situation develops, analysts and observers are closely monitoring the implications of these military strategies, diplomatic efforts, and technological dependencies. The unfolding events in Ukraine will undoubtedly shape not only the immediate future of the region but also the broader geopolitical dynamics for years to come. With peace talks on the horizon and military engagements intensifying, the world watches and waits to see how Ukraine will navigate this complex landscape in its quest for sovereignty and stability. In a significant development amid the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, President Donald Trump has outlined his conditions for resuming U.S. aid and intelligence support to Ukraine, emphasizing that a minerals deal alone will not suffice. As U.S. and Ukrainian officials prepare for a crucial meeting in Saudi Arabia this week, Trump is reportedly seeking a broader commitment from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, particularly concerning concessions in negotiations with Russia. According to administration sources, Trump insists not only on the signing of a deal that would grant the U.S. a stake in Ukraine's mineral resources but also on a shift in Zelensky's approach towards peace talks. This includes a potential willingness to cede territory to Russia and a move toward organizing elections in Ukraine, which have been suspended under martial law since Russia's invasion in 2022. As President Trump demonstrated by reading President Zelensky's message at the joint session, the Ukrainians have made positive movement, said Brian Hughes, a spokesman for the White House National Security Council. With meetings in Saudi this coming week, we look forward to hearing more positive movement that will hopefully ultimately end this brutal war and bloodshed. The urgency of these discussions comes as Russia has escalated its attacks on Ukraine, leading to a troubling increase in civilian casualties. Reports from the United Nations Human Rights Monitoring Mission indicate that casualties have risen sharply in 2025 compared to the previous year, with the Donetsk region being particularly hard hit. While U.S. officials have stated that there is no direct correlation between the pause in intelligence sharing and the recent uptick in attacks, the situation remains dire for Ukrainian civilians. Congressional Republicans are advocating for a swift resumption of U.S. aid and intelligence, and there is optimism that support could be reinstated as early as next week. This comes in light of Zelensky's recent remarks expressing Ukraine's readiness to engage in negotiations under Trump's leadership to achieve lasting peace. Although the U.S. continues to provide defensive intelligence to Ukraine, the withdrawal of targeting information has raised concerns among Western officials about the potential impact on Ukraine's defense capabilities. Every day hurts Ukraine and every day gives Russia a more favorable position, noted one official. Amid these geopolitical maneuvers, Zelensky has reiterated Ukraine's commitment to dialogue, stating, "Ukraine has been seeking peace from the very first second of this war. Realistic proposals are on the table. The key is to move quickly and effectively. His upcoming meetings with both U.S. representatives and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia are pivotal in shaping the next steps in the conflict. In parallel, tensions have mounted in Washington regarding Trump's handling of the situation, particularly after his recent public disagreements with Zelensky. Reports suggest that Trump has been feeling overshadowed, especially following Zelensky's meeting with King Charles of the United Kingdom, which occurred concurrently with Trump's own engagements. This dynamic reflects the intricate interplay of diplomacy and domestic politics that continues to characterize the U.S. response to the Ukraine crisis. As the situation evolves, the outcome of the discussions in Saudi Arabia could have profound implications for the future of U.S.-Ukraine relations and the ongoing conflict with Russia. Both sides are under pressure to find a pathway toward resolution, with the specter of further violence looming large. The coming days will be critical in determining whether a new framework for cooperation can be established or if the entrenched positions of both parties will lead to continued stalemate and suffering for the Ukrainian populace.